So what's up YouTube? In today's video, we're going to talk about how you can survive as a junior software engineer. So if you're new to the channel, my name is Kenny. I'm a senior iOS engineer. Make sure you hit the subscribe button below. Also hit the like button. It definitely helps out the channel. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. So one of the first tips I want to give you guys is if you're a junior software engineer and you're trying to at least survive and not just be drowning on the water, one of the first things I'll recommend is before you pick up any kind of ticket that you're going to be working on, make sure you do a lot of thorough research behind that ticket. So typically what I would do, and I still do this to this day, is prior to me picking up a ticket, I go through the process of researching the ticket, looking in detail. Sometimes I'll write up some code around that ticket just to ensure I have true concept and knowledge around what the ticket is asking for and look into that ticket deeply. The last thing you want to do is pick up a ticket that you didn't do any research on. Say you gave the ticket a 3, and from there you looked into it and come to find out that ticket is really more so like a 5, and it's taking you much longer. And for you as a junior software engineer, that doesn't look good on your end, because what you pointed the ticket to be versus the timeline is really going to take you to get it finished is drastically different. That ends up making your project manager not happy, and it's not something you want to put yourself through. So I would highly recommend, you go through the process of looking deep into that ticket, making sure you get full understanding around what the ticket is asking for. Again, if you need to, write up some code, then, go from there. Another helpful tip with that also is if you see a ticket and you're not sure how long it's going to take you, you've gone through the process of things I've stated before. And the next big thing is to try to create a spike ticket. And for those who don't know what a spike ticket is, it's pretty much is a research ticket. You create a ticket, which you just let your project manager know, like, hey, I want to do some research around this particular feature or whatever this is asking for, but more detail around what's needed to get the ticket completed. If you have a senior engineer, maybe that senior engineer can go over, more in detail around the ticket, what's expected out of it. But if you don't have one, or you're, on your own, the best thing I would recommend is just make sure you create a spike ticket, have that spike ticket go into detail around what you need to have in place to complete that ticket, and kind of just go from there. To me, I think that'll help you out tremendously versus you trying to go through the process of spinning your wheels for too long, and then you end up making your project manager mad. It doesn't give you a good look as a junior developer. It makes people think you maybe not know what you're doing, and that's probably something you don't want to present yourself as. So another helpful tip is to make sure that you bring up issues early. So if you're working on a ticket and say your ticket is to be adding a button to the screen, seems relatively simple, right? You get started in the ticket, you look into it, you start working on it, you realize that what's supposed to be very simple is actually much more complicated. And I give a brief example around what I'm meaning. So say you're an iOS developer and your task is to add a button to the screen. For you, you may think like, oh, okay, that's pretty easy, it's nothing, crazy. You start looking into the ticket and you start working on it. Process of working on it, trying to add this button to the screen, you kind of find out that this button needs to be added to a scroll view. Now, if you're an iOS developer, you probably know that a scroll view is much more complicated to work with when you're trying to add buttons onto that screen. It needs to be clickable, as well as say that this scroll view has, other views on top of it. So now you have to kind of change up the layout and different things like that. And that ticket that typically just adding a button to the screen would be, pointed like maybe a 1-point ticket is now more of a 3 or a 5-point ticket, just because of the fact that you're gonna have to change up the constraints and do a lot of different things to add this button to the screen. That's something that, you wanna bring up to your project manager early, especially when you guys have stand-up. When you guys have stand-up, you'll bring that issue up and say like, hey, this ticket was pointed more so like a 1. It's really more so now like a 3. And just be honest about it. Don't try to hide the information and try to see if you can try to get it fixed on your own. It's best to just bring that information forward early versus just sitting on it and then you spinning your wheels, again, making it seem like you're trying to get everything done quickly, but obviously going to take you much more time. And if that ends up happening, your project manager looks at you in a negative way, maybe your teammates look at you in a negative way, as well as your manager. So it's best for you to just bring up issues early, let somebody else make the decision on if you guys are going to continue to work on that ticket, or if that ticket is going to be moved to the backlog and then you pick up a different ticket. So again, just bring up issues early. It just tremendously helps you out a lot. So my third tip is going to be make sure you ask for help. If you find yourself in a situation where you're stuck on something, you don't understand something, or you just don't flat out know how to accomplish completing the ticket, bring that issue up early. Ask someone on your team, like, hey, I'm working on this ticket. I really don't know what I'm doing. this is currently what I have code-wise. Let me know if it's good, bad, so forth. Ask someone else on your team, can they help you with the ticket? If it's something that's super complicated, prior to picking up the ticket, see if you can pair program with someone on it and see if that helps you tremendously, or see if that just at least help you along the way. But you definitely want to bring up issues if you feel as though you can't really complete the ticket on your own. If the ticket is too complicated and you need some help, ping your senior engineer, your architect, or your team lead, whoever is on your team. Or if there's just another person on your team, just ping them and let them know. If the ticket is pretty complicated for you, you're struggling with it, you don't see it's something that you're going to finish super fast, and just be honest about it. I think in too many cases as engineers, one thing that we hold ourselves pride on is being able to complete something on our own and not needing any help. I'll be first to tell you, even me being senior, I'm not afraid to hit somebody up on my team and be like, hey, I'm working on XYZ, I'm kind of stuck right here. This one area, I'm like too sure if we want to go in this direction or this direction. Like, what's your opinion on this? And just by me doing that, it gives more confidence to the other people on my team that, hey, I do value their opinion. Two, it helps build me up because of the fact that I don't feel like all the weight is on my shoulders, but it's on the shoulders of my entire team. So if you're junior and you feel as though you got to do everything on your own, I'll just tell you right now, don't let that be the case. Honestly, please reach out to somebody else on your team if you feel as though you cannot complete the ticket or the ticket you're working on is way too complicated for you. There's no harm, no foul. In all honesty, no engineer knows everything. I don't care how super senior they are or whatever. You just don't know everything. You're gonna run into areas where you're gonna need to either lean on someone else, or if you're not leaning on someone else, you're gonna be leaning on documentation or what someone else has already built heavily. So if that's the case and you're junior, you're obviously not gonna know everything around whatever coding structure you guys have, the architecture of the application as a whole. So just reach out to people on your team, see if they can help you. I'm more than sure that most senior engineers wouldn't mind spending some time to help a junior developer out to make sure they have full context and understanding around how to do something and what's to be expected in the outcome. I know there are some companies where the teams you work with, they're very much siloed and they don't really like helping each other. And my personal opinion, if you feel as though you're in a team like that, that's honestly a bad environment. You should be in an environment that's thriving to help one another. If you feel as though you're in an environment whereas you're on your own, no one's willing to help you, no one wants to help you, that's not a good environment to be in. You should surround yourself with people that don't mind helping you and working together. I mean, that's the whole purpose of being on a team. I mean, if you think about just NBA players, football players, they're a team. You can't win a Super Bowl or you can't even win in the playoffs if you don't work together as a team. So if you're a junior developer, again, just make sure you reach out, ask for help if you need it. Don't feel as though, you're looked down upon as if you don't know anything. It happens to everybody. You're not gonna know everything in the beginning, especially. You'll learn more and more over time. But granted, the only thing I would say too is before you ask for help, make sure you do your own research first and see how far you can go from the research in the code that you can write up. Then from there, if you feel as though, hey, I've looked at all these different blogs, all these websites, tutorials, I'm still stuck, don't know anything. Then from that standpoint, go out, reach out to a senior developer or someone else on your team, see if they can help you along, and you should be good from there. My fourth tip is make sure you practice on things you're not good at. So when you become a software engineer and you're a junior, there are gonna be a ton of things you're not great at. It just is what it is. But practice on the things that you know for sure your job or your company is currently using and they use often and you're not great at it. Whether that be, anything that you're seeing on a regular that you're like, okay, I'm always having to do this or that, I'm not great at it. I heard them talk about it in code reviews or in meetings. Spend time on those things, on those particular topics, and make yourself much more familiar with them, learn about them, and get better. You're only gonna get good if you practice. I think in too many cases, a lot of people feel as though they're gonna become great software engineers strictly by just going to work, doing the task at work, and then going home and never touching any more code. So this is my opinion, my personal opinion. Some people may feel differently. I feel like truly to grow as a software engineer, you're gonna have to practice on writing code outside of work. Just writing code at work, I hate to tell you, it's just not gonna get you there. It's just not. You're gonna probably be decent. Not say you can't become a great software engineer by strictly just writing code at work, But most people who become software engineers, they do work on side projects, or they have other things that they like to work on that's code related outside of work. That helps improve your skills. You're gonna learn 10 times faster working on stuff outside of work than just at work. Granted, you can learn a lot by doing stuff at work. Not to say you can't, you definitely can. But in most cases, you're gonna have to practice on writing code outside of work, at least some. This doesn't mean like you're gonna have to be writing code for 20 hours out of a day, some at work and then some at home. That's not the case. But you may have like one time a week or every 2 weeks or so, I don't know, just whatever works for you, where you're gonna have to write some kind of code outside of work to practice and hone in on your skills. Because the further you go up, the more and more difficult those concepts become. So some of them concepts that you're gonna be trying to learn, you're definitely gonna have to learn them really outside of work. And they come too from working on so many different projects. If you've only worked on one project, then I hate to say it, but you only see things in one way. But as you work on more and more projects, you learn how things work in a ton of different projects and what's the pros and cons of certain things. So again, just practice on something outside of work. It'll definitely help your skills, and you'll see yourself slowly grow at work, just because you practice outside of work. And my last tip is make sure you believe in yourself. In too many cases, when you're a junior developer, you feel as though you're at the bottom of the totem pole. You're not that great. You feel as though everybody else is light years ahead of you. But truth be told, they're not. Granted, their skills may be there, but you have to look at the work that they put in and how long they've been coding. If somebody's been coding for 10 years, obviously they're gonna know way more than somebody who's been coding for 6 months. It's just obvious. But you have to believe in yourself, pick up tickets that you know you can handle, believe that you can work on these tickets, believe that you can learn whatever you're trying to learn. Don't sell yourself short thinking as though, you're not smart enough, you're not great enough. It has nothing to do with it. If you were somebody who say like, well, I'm not great at math, so I don't know if I should be a software engineer, you can still become a software engineer regardless of that. If you don't have a computer science degree, if you don't have an engineering degree, it doesn't matter. I believe, truthfully, most people honestly can become software engineers. It's more so about the work that you put in to become one. Just the same as I believe everybody can learn mathematics. A lot of people just feel like they're just horrible at math and they could never learn math. But truth be told, everybody honestly can learn math. I mean, just about everybody understands addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So you can learn calculus. It's just the fact that you just need to put in the work to learn calculus. And you need to make sure you have a strong foundation on everything prior to getting to calculus. Same thing with programming. You can be a great programmer, but just make sure you have a strong foundation prior to learning some of those other techniques or other skills in programming. Or concepts rather. So make sure you put in the work. Honestly, my personal opinion, you'll be great. Believe in yourself when you pick up these tickets, when you're working on those tickets, and just go from there. So I want to thank you guys for watching the video. Again, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the like button if you like what you see. I make videos every Tuesday and Thursday, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See you.